Yeah, I don't feel like putting much effort into this one. Kind of like the movies we're about to discuss. Happy New Year, everybody. Hope y'all made some good memories, stayed safe out there, and are gearing up for the new decade. But we're here to look back on 2019, very specifically, the worst and my personal least favorite movies that came out. This is my honest bottom 5 list of my least favorite and worst films of 2019. No, one second. I would have loved to have made this list a list of 10. However, staggeringly, I didn't see that many movies this year that were truly insulting to me. Yes, I've seen bad films, but bad films can be forgettable, and therefore wouldn't be worth jotting down on this list. So in order to pad out the countdown, I've decided to throw in my top 5 most disappointing films of 2019 as well. I don't know how to tie a tie. Also, this is about the most respect I'm going to show, at least for this first half of the list. A couple things to keep in mind before I get started. This isn't exactly like an honorable mention of my least favorite films. Some of these films are actually quite decent. The issue stems from I had a level of expectations that were otherwise not met. Also, this isn't in any particular hard and fast order, so with that in mind, let's get cracking. Number 5. Missing Link. Like I said, not all of the disappointments are bad. This is one of the decent ones. The stop-motion animation is wonderful. It's colorful and kids will certainly like it. There's definitely bouts of creativity, but my issues stem from the sheer lack of charm. Which is weird, because the animation is charming, but the voice acting isn't. This is most likely a result of the writing, which I found to be staggeringly lackluster for Laika. Laika! The creators behind some of the best stop-motion films of the decade. Coraline, Paranorman, Box Trolls, hell, as far as I care, Kubo and the Two Strings is a damned masterclass of stop-motion animation. And even though this isn't like a huge story with huge stakes, it still feels like a step down in terms of Laika's usual quality writing. By no means bad, but not great either.
Oh, it's hard to know whose fault that was.
Number 4. Us. Oh man, I was so on board with the first half of this flick. It was so interesting. A slasher home invasion flick where the killers are homicidal copies of our protagonists. It's interesting, mysterious. Brother, I was all in. But then it becomes a weird world invasion apocalypse, and the explanation of where the doubles come from is weird. I understand that this movie is loaded with symbolism, but symbolism alone doesn't make a good movie if the story driving it makes little sense. Personally, I prefer Get Out. And even though I don't care for this flick as a whole, I do think that Jordan Peele's directing is fascinating. So consider me on board with anything that he does, but I'm a pass on this one.
If you want to get crazy, we can get crazy.
Number 3. Spider-Man Far From Home. Like I said, decent. There are some truly standout elements, like Gyllenhaal as Mysterio, that acid trip of a fight scene, the weight given to Tony Stark's death. It has some wonderful stuff, but for my money, it's bogged down by bad humor, characters with diluted personalities from the last outing. It just tried too hard to be Endgame's decompressor. Maybe, because of Endgame's impact, it was impossible for Far From Home to live up to that level of hype. But that doesn't quite change the legit issues that I took with the story. By no means bad, but, you know, it's on this list.
I am going on vacation.
Number 2. Jexy. This looked so good from the trailers. Like it would be a commentary on our dependency on phones. If that's what the movie is, it's not half as clever as it could have been. It was advertised that Jexy would start off legit trying to help Phil, but as he opens himself up to new experiences and needs Jexy less and less, that's when she cracks down and takes control of his life. But nope. Jexy goes full Skynet, Legion, right off the bat and causes a slew of problems for... I'm sorry, but not that Dark Fate made any of my lists this year, but I still do not acknowledge Legion as a true replacement for Skynet. Hashtag, not my Legion. Show some respect. Anyway, Jexy immediately causes problems for Phil, which dilutes her threat later on, making it less shocking. It's not all that funny, Adam Devine is kind of annoying. I just thought it would be a lot better than it ended up being.
I'm done.
You do not know how to get home, do you?
No, I do not.
And my number 1 disappointing film of 2019 is... Uncut Gems. Oh no, this is definitely number 1 most disappointing film of the year. Early buzz was painting this like Adam Sandler's comeback movie, that he might even get an Oscar nom. Fuck that. No. This was nails on a chalkboard, the movie. All this movie is Sandler yelling. Everyone yelling at him, and everyone yelling over everyone else with no time for your ears to remember what quiet sounds like. The only reason I didn't give this a lower score is because I see that the story is technically good and I can take Sandler seriously and the acting can be good, but it almost doesn't save it for how noisy it is. I stand by my original statement. I don't want to see this nominated for anything. But Sandler should keep trying. If nothing else, this movie shows that he is capable of delivering a good performance when called for. I've seen Punch Drunk Love. I've seen Reign Over Me. Sandler can do better. So let's just hope that this is a launch pad to a much brighter comeback.
Give me another shot.
Ain't no more respect from this point on. This is the bottom 5 list of 2019. Number 5. The Lion King. Oh, hold on. Before I absolutely tear this movie a new one, I'm gonna give it the only measure of credit that I can muster. As the CG artists were likely instructed to make their animals as photorealistic as possible, they did their jobs. These animals look fantastic. A testament to computers and how far they've come. Mark my words, the visual effects are getting an Oscar nom and have a real shot at winning. It'll be well earned if it does. But that is all I'm saying about it. This movie couldn't hold a candle to the original animated classic. It's so lifeless and a hugely watered down experience. The musical numbers have no flair or pop. Scar is a bland ass joke with zero threat to him. Even the elements that the movie almost fixes from the original botches it right up a few minutes later. I will never understand how fans can accept this remake. In my opinion, it's the second worst one. It's a damn disgrace of a true animated classic.
Life's not fair.
Number 4. Dumbo. Jumping from the second worst live-action Disney remake to the worst. Yes, I think Dumbo is the worst of these remakes. Why? At least Lion King had solid visuals. It's a hollow shell of the original flick, but you can at least tell it's the original. Dumbo is barely even about Dumbo. A good chunk of the story is about these two little kids who can't act. I blame Tim Burton, not the young actors. They're young and up and coming. Burton has been creatively bankrupt for the better part of this decade, minus Big Eyes, and are trying to reconnect with their father, who just came back from the war with one arm. Dumbo! It's exactly like you remember! By the way, which took 10 minutes to introduce the baby elephants, whereas the remake took 20 minutes. Oh, and the magic feather that convinces Dumbo to fly isn't the one that he has to hold, it's any feather that he snorts. He snorts the feathers. Because of course! Didn't you know? Feathers are basically elephant cocaine. God, I hate this movie! Beyond that, it ruins great talent like Eva Green, who probably jump-started puberty for a lot of little boys in the audience, makes Dumbo's separation from his mom far more complex than it needed to be, and is resolved in the most far-fetched way possible. This movie has a body count, and they butcher the pink elephant scene. Just thinking about that makes me want to punch a baby elephant. And we're not even at my bottom 3 yet. Terrible, awful film. I will never see this again.
Take Dumbo back inside.
Number 3. Cats. I've had more comfortable moments in my adolescence with my parents walking in on me watching porn than I did watching this movie. It still kills me that the director wants to re-release it with better CGI. But Tom Hooper needs to face a fact here. It's a fuck-awful movie. Never mind that these things are sacrilegiously horrifying to look at, but the story is non-existent or absolutely terrible. The whole plot is the cats singing about themselves, or singing in a singing competition to essentially die. I'm sorry, what in Stephen Sondheim's dickhole am I watching? How did this musical make $6 billion? Are musical theater people okay? Do y'all need me to call someone? Are your children being held hostage? Where does this popularity come from? Whatever, this movie is appropriately tanking at the box office and will likely fade into obscurity. Pulled from Oscar running? Someone thought this was good enough to be an Oscar contender? What kind of 200 proof moonshine was the marketing department horking down? Christ, this movie. Moving on.
Are you going to try for a different life?
Number 2. A Medea family funeral. Oh my god. I hate Tyler Perry. I do. Not the man himself, just his body of work. I will never understand what the appeal is here. It's a one-note series of movies. Just non-stop blathering about nothing. I may not have liked Uncut Gems, but at least there was a coherent and even compelling story behind the inane noise. Here, to call it Diet Nutty Professor the Clumps would imply that it has taste. Poor taste, but taste nonetheless. No, this movie is Bleach. Bleach for your ears that actively hates your senses and that you have a functioning brain. Why? How about that it hates women? In one scene, you have a black woman who has attitude and confidence, but this same character will admit that she knows her man is cheating on her and later on ask him if he needs her to be a better person so he can stop cheating on her. And that's just one example, and almost all the characters are like this. Everyone is written to be an awful person because they're cruel, irredeemable, cheating dickwipes who don't deserve happiness, or they're so weak and subservient that one has to ask if they even know how to pick out their own clothes. I don't care what kind of message this was trying to promote. This movie,
It screams like an abattoir full of retarded children.
if this truly is the final Medea movie, which I highly doubt as there's nothing in this to indicate finality, I'll be eternally grateful. That's not it, is it? It's not it. There's gonna be more. Oh my god.
Amen. Hallelujah.
And the number one worst movie of 2019 is Unplanned.
Applaud, everyone! Applaud sarcastically. No, that sounds too sincere. Slow clap. There we go. Nice and condescending.
Congratulations, Pureflix. I had no idea that you could sink so low. You went from a surprisingly competent God's Not Dead movie, A Light in Darkness, which asked hard questions, put religion under a microscope with some solid acting and an impressive lack of strong-arming, at least by comparison to a typical Pureflix outing, basically making me think that y'all turned a corner in your storytelling. Boy, did you show me! I suppose to a zealot of Christianity would see this as a cautionary tale, a rallying cry for justice, and a beautiful redemption story. But for us normal people, it's a fucking horror movie without flickering lights. Subversive, I give this slice of propaganda some credit. How else would you categorize a Christian anti-Planned Parenthood movie, written and directed by a pair of middle-aged white men, and actively tells people at the end that it was made without Planned Parenthood's permission and telling women what they should be doing with their bodies? Okay, so for the better part of the last 2 hours, I've tried to write down my review for this movie. And honestly, I keep looking at my notes, I keep looking at my statements, and it's getting really political. And I don't want my channel to be seen that way. I don't want to be seen that way. But it's hard to talk about this sort of thing without getting political, without pushing some kind of agenda. And I didn't even know I had an agenda to push, to be honest. All I will say, in regards to the movie itself, it provides no information. It provides nothing intellectual for anyone to fall back on. Truly, all this movie is fear-mongering. I cannot stress this enough. You gotta get out there and do your research. Talk to people on both sides of the issue if you have to, but make sure that you're talking to people who are credible, who know what they're talking about, and they're not just spouting blanket statements like this movie does. I mean, for God's sakes, this movie fucking tries to equate abortions to fries and soda.
Fast food outlets look to break even on the hamburgers they sell. That's all they do. Do you know how they make their money?
No.
On the french fries and the soda, the low-cost, high-margin items.
Cheryl, I'm sorry, but I don't understand.
Abortion is our fries and soda.
It's so blatantly... It's really trying to make Planned Parenthood monstrous. Ignoring all the good that they do. Ignoring simple facts like women get raped and sometimes pregnant girls can be 12 years old. Forgetting simple, basic shit like this. I mean, it's not like I'm an expert on this issue either. Mostly at the end of the day because it's not my business. Like, I'm never going to have this issue. So, there's not much reason for me to personally go out there and do my research other than for pure knowledge. But other than that, having that knowledge would do me no good. But this is something that affects so many other people. My decision is to stay out of it. Just please, number one, don't see this movie. But if you do, just really talk to people. Get out there, do your research. And if you find that you're pro-life still, that's fine. On the surface, being pro-life is not a bad thing. But when you go out there into the real world, where there's real consequences, don't ruin other people's lives because they have a different point of view than yours. Other than that, don't see this movie. It's not worth it. It's not worth the aggravation.
Don't underestimate the repercussions of this. You gotta be careful.
Okay, I am ready to put the shit of 2019 behind me. So my next video, we're going to be talking about something that makes me feel better. I'm going to be talking about my favorite movies and what I define or what I think are the best ones. So keep an eye out for my next video. Thanks so much for watching, you guys. I really appreciate it. Have a great day. Hope to see you soon.